Welcome back to FMJeeping. My name is Mark, and today we're going to be changing the fuel pump on this 06 Wrangler. So I'm doing some side work, helping out some people in my area, working on some Jeeps. This one is in for some emission work. Now I've already gone through, changed out the O2 sensors, which are tripping a code for being a voltage too high. That problem has ceased, but now we are still stuck with a P0171 and a 0174, which is lean on both bank 1 and bank 2, so the front and the back. This is an 06, so there's two upstream O2 sensors. So the belief is it might be low fuel pressure. So the owner of the Jeep gave me the okay to go ahead and swap out the fuel pump because it's the factory one. I think there's about 160,000 miles on this thing. It's probably due to be done anyway. So in an effort to kind of, do some preventive maintenance and potentially get rid of her engine codes, we're going to go ahead and swap this out. One thing I am going to mention, the thing that kind of soured this and the reason why we're just diving right into the fuel pump instead of testing for it is that Jeep, for some reason, on 05 and 06 decided to remove the Schrader valve from the fuel rail, making it a little bit more difficult to test. You can hook up a setup right here where the fuel rail meets the fuel line with a special adapter. However, my fuel pump tester my fuel pressure tester didn't come with that, and I think the kit that includes that is the master kit, and it's like $300. I know there's some other cheaper alternatives, but I don't know if it's going to work. But the customer wanted to go ahead and swap out the fuel pump anyway to eliminate any low fuel pressure issues, as well as the pump dying out because of the age of the vehicle and the mileage. So inherently, the fuel pump on a Wrangler is actually not all that bad. I'm going to go ahead and remove the, see, what are they, 8 screws here to get access to the filler hoses, as well as the 7 bolts. There's 4 in the back here and 3 in the very front of this skid plate that holds the tank to the bottom of the vehicle. Then I believe there are 3 lines over here, which I'll showcase when I get over there. I believe it's the fuel feed, the vapor evap line, and then I think there's the electric. That's right, the electric. So let's dive into it. So now that we got the fuel filler trim and everything all out of the way, let's go into the rig. Okay, so there's supposed to be 6 bolts in the back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These 2, this one's gone. This one's, I think, just flopping around. We'll have to see. And then there's 3 more, sorry, in the very front. If you look over here, follow the exhaust, there's 1 more bolt right up here. It's kind of hard to see because of the shadow. And then there's 2 more over here right above the track bar. So I've been shooting these with PB Blaster for the last couple of days, so I'm hoping and praying that these come off fairly easily. We'll see if the PB Blaster pays off. That kind of sucked. I had to cut 4 out of the 9 bolts that hold the tank up. From my understanding, the frames are notched on the Wranglers with little squares, little square cutouts for carriage bolts, replaced once the tank is down and out of the way. So we'll do that, but we're in a position now where we can lower the tank. Now, prior to starting this project, I'd highly advise anybody, if you have the ability or means, to make sure that the tank is empty as possible. I've got half a tank, so that's why I got this transmission jack. I'm hoping that'll do the job. So yeah, let's lower the transmission jack nice and slow and get that tank out of there. those connections. All right, so we're back under the rig for one last time, hopefully, before we can take the tank all the way down. And we're looking at this the right way. Up here, this is the right above the rear axle. Here's the axle, tank. Over here are two lines, 1, 2. On the driver's side, these are those quick release. You pinch these together and you pull, like basically you want to pull these all the way in, pinch this plastic piece together and pull out. Now there's 2 of these. I'm going to need both my hands to do this. And then also that if you follow this wire here all the way to the middle of the tank is the electronic hookup for the fuel pump. But this is still a little too high for me to get to right now. So I'm going to put you down. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. I'll be amazed. Oh, there's one. Wow, okay, not bad. Let's see if I can do 2. I love the smell of gas. Okay, I'm putting you down. All right, both hoses are down. Let's go ahead and lower this nice and slow so I can see the electronic connection. So there's one more line over here that goes to the top of the pump. This is a Teflon line, you gotta be careful with it. And here is that electrical connection. I'm gonna put you down so I can use both hands so I don't ruin this, and I definitely don't ruin that. So just hang tight for a second. All right, pump is out. All right, so something that unbeknownst to me happened here. If you look at these straps here, these are the longer studs underneath the bumper that come through on like the inner part here. This is the stuff that holds it to the frame, these bolts here. These inner part actually hold the strap to the skid plate. So I messed up by taking those off. Those aren't needed. I also tweaked them a little bit, so I'm gonna have to straighten those out, clean them up, and restrap it in. So I got some work to do. All right, now before I go cracking this open, I'm gonna go ahead and take some compressed air, blow this all off, so that way I don't knock any residual dirt or anything in here. All right, so now I got everything plugged off. My little evap thing here, my vent, and my line, my feed line. Now let's go ahead and crack this thing. What did I do with my gosh darn hammer? Now let's reverse this ring off. I want a bigger punch. There we go. Inside the tank looks pretty good. I don't see any floating debris anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my new Bosch fuel pump. This is the one that comes from the factory. Same exact housing. Whoop. So what I'm doing right now is just cleaning where the seal mating surface is. Some dirt got underneath here, and in an attempt to keep the pump and the tank sealed, I'm just going to go ahead and clean this off little by little, slowly, and work on trying to work the junk and the gunk and the road road schmegma out of here and like off to the side and not inside the tank. This new Bosch unit comes with a seal. I'm going to go ahead and replace that. Make sure it seats really well. So you just want to make note when you take the old one out and put the new one in, you want it to clock the same way. My connector came this way and the feed line went out toward the at least cockeyed to the side, but basically facing the front of the vehicle. They also have this little clocking wing on the Bosch units that will fit right between two of the pump tie downs for the ring. So that's how you know you clock it correctly. But basically this is what you want. So this is the front of the vehicle, rear of the vehicle. You want the line facing this way and the connection to face out to this kind of pie cut over here. So I'm going to go ahead and seat this ring. I want to get these little ears to touch this edge right here. All right, all seated. So I'm going to go ahead and take this fuel line, attach it to here, and I gotta start cleaning up these straps. The straps are twisted. I might run a tap or a die on there just to kind of clean those up, so in case we ever have to drop this again. Then I also have to work on the bolts in the frame, getting new carriages for them. So they have these little retaining washers that hold them in place. I gotta get some of those, but let me get the hose switched over and the thread pitch for this. So something you're gonna have to do when you take the feed line off the old pump is there is a little plastic retainer. It's this blue one right here. What you do is there's these little ears. Let's see if I can zoom in. These little ears right here. You pry these outwards ever so gently to get it past this little raised piece. You like do one at a time, very gentle, and it comes right off. And then you slide it right on, it'll snap in place, it won't fall off again, and then that's it. All set. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these up off camera just to kind of keep this moving along, and I'll be right back. So I got the straps on, got the tank, this is all buttoned down, this is ready to go back into the vehicle. However, something I ran into that might help some people down the road, my straps were barely, like I could barely touch the threaded part of the strap to the hole. Let me see if I can show you guys. So if you see right here, I could barely get this threaded part to the hole. I tried using the ratchet strap and everything to kind of suck in that, you know, get just enough, and it wouldn't work. Ended up taking the tank out, dumping the skid plate out, putting the tank back in, and bam, I had just enough. I had about 1/8 of an inch come through, which is enough to thread it down, and now we're good to go. So our next task is these bolts right here. If you look at these come through the frame. There's this little square here. I'm using I think these are 5/8, 5/16 bolts. This is the broken one that I took out. These are the ones I'm going to replace it with. They're longer. These are from another project, but I could trim them down after the fact. So I'm just going to go through. I was also able to save these retaining washers, these little star washers, put them back on to hold them in place to keep them from falling out. But we should be good to go. So I'm just going to go ahead, replace all the broken ones that I have, and get the tank ready to go back up again. All right, so what happens is the bolts in the back are super easy to get to. If you can see, bam, I pulled it right out, put it back in, no big deal. But the ones in the front have this cross member, and there's only about this much space. It's only about maybe an 1 by 1 hole, and to get your fingers in there, especially fat fingers like mine, it's a little difficult and to get a bolt in there. So what I did on this one is I used a piece of wire, really thin, kind of speaker wire. I fed it in through, similar to this. I stripped probably about 2.5 inches of the shielding. You just got to feed it through. It takes a couple tries, but once you get it, it's not so bad. All right, so after a ton of fighting, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get that passenger side bolt that's in the front, the cross member. There's really no good way to get to it. It doesn't look like anything you can get from the bottom. I'm probably wrong, but it looks like it's something you might have to go, lift the cab or the body up just a hair to drop it in. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I'm going to have 6 out of the 7 bolts holding this in. So I think we should be in a good shape. All right, so now with that being said, let's get the tank back up. Truth. Thought I heard it. All right. So that's it. All right, so I'm gonna let this thing cycle through, then check the codes, see if it's still running a little bit lean. But this is where I'm going to leave you. I hope you guys got something out of it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.